So just go ahead.
The night of the tornado, I was sitting in a chair. I'd got cleaned up and was ready for bed, and about that time the fire pager went off for a grass fire at 2700 Oak Road in CRP. A lightning strike had started a grass fire ahead of the storm. We returned to the fire station north of I-70, and as the storm started rolling in, it was blacker than all get out. You couldn't see anything, and about that time the lightning bolt lit up the sky, and you could kind of see in the roar that everybody talks about. You could hear plain as day. I had 3 other fellows with me at that time, and I looked at them and I says, "Fellas, I don't know where the safe spot is, but the fire station is not it." And we proceeded to leave, and the one just lived a half-mile south of the fire station, and he went to turn in his drive, and he was driving a pretty heavy truck at the time, and he missed the drive. The wind was already shaking him around enough that he had to back up and hit it again. And being stubborn, I should have followed him and went to his basement, but instead I proceeded into Chapman. And of course, at that time, at the very north edge of city limits at that time, they was just building the condominiums there at the nursing home, and then you had styrofoam blocks that was used in the construction out in the roadway. And even at that time, it doesn't even hit you that you'd already been hit by the storm. And turned the corner at Casey's here and proceeded east to go to my house, and you could tell part of Casey's was already gone, and continued east around the bends of the creek, and there was tree limbs and trees and power poles in the road, and got within a half mile of my house, and that was all the further you could drive. So I started walking across country and got to my homestead, and there wasn't anything left except my house. Hollered. That was kind of the hardest last 500 feet steps of my life, because I was cussing and praying at the same time, wondering whether my wife and kids were alive. Got there, and my wife had come out of the basement and was starting to see what had happened, and she just thought it was a pretty good windstorm, and then she heard me holler and realized there was nothing separating us as far as windows or walls, and kind of did a few things at home and made sure that they were all right, and come back into town. And I was very fortunate that my chief on Dixon County Fire District number 1 had made it into Chapman and had taken command of the incident, because we were, I don't know what word to say. It's more than being punched in the gut, because our police chief at the time, Mike Brown, had also lost his home. His assistant chief, Tom James, had lost his home. Our EMS director for Dixon County had a close call. He was up on Indian Hill looking at the storm, and he had a big tree come down in front of him and behind him. So we had several key people in knee deep in alligators, to put it mildly.
You can stop now.